All right, let's get right into this. Texans lose to the Kansas City Chiefs. Very, 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 very costly loss, to say the very least. It is a locker room post game show. I am on the road. We're getting some business taken care of on the road. Hope everyone's enjoying the holidays. I doubt that you really enjoyed that game too much, and there's a lot of reasons to be upset. There were some good things, there's some bad things, there's some costly things, and a lot of questions about this squad emerge with what we saw in the short and the long term. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. We know that they know how to win. We also know that they're going to get some help in doing so. I thought that I'm not, and usually it's a frustrating thing for a lot of people uh, when certain calls don't go in the Texans' favor. Um, I'm not one of the people that likes to blame the refs, but I think the referees absolutely uh, impacted this game significantly. I think this was, if you look at early on in the game and you look at the fact that the Texans should have had a touchdown on defense that was called back on a very suspect rough the passer call. And then later on in that drive, you have a questionable hold on Jimmy Ward that was an incomplete pass. And then you had the questionable hold on Stingley. I think the refs kind of helped the Chiefs out today. And I'm not one to usually say that, but that was with the margin of error that this offense has, and I actually think the offense played good based on realistic expectations. But with the margin of error that this offense has, when you give the Chiefs, and that's basically what you're doing, you're taking away 7 points and then you're giving them a free three. Um, because there was another play later on where the Texans sacked the Chiefs out of field goal range at the end of the first half, and the referees on the sack call something on Stingley that I'm still don't understand what in the world was going on there. And then you look at it the other ways, it's not going there. So refs are human beings. I don't think the job's easy. I think a lot of times they get disrespected more than they potentially should. But I mean, these guys are human, and they're watching the same TV we are. They're seeing the Pat Mahomes commercials. They're seeing Travis Kelsey, and they see the Chiefs on the big stage. They're football fans as well, and that's one of the elements that you have to go against with the Kansas City Chiefs. Quite frankly, I think it's a better asset than what Travis Kelsey gives them right now. Is that you're going to get the favorable whistles? So, is that 100% the reason the Texans lost? I would say no, but I mean, you take 10 points off the board in a ballgame that kind of goes down to the wire with an offense that's been struggling. I think anyone who approaches this thing uh, upset at officiating, I'm not always going to be there with you, but I think in this case, I think you have a valid reason to be upset, a very valid reason to be upset. So it was the rough in the passer call was one of the worst calls. I mean, that's as costly of a call as you can have. I mean, you go from a touchdown that would have made it at the time. What would that have made it? 17-7. And instead, you give them a 15 play, so you give them an explosive, and then you extend their drive two more times. Refs absolutely impacted this one. On the Super, H Town 94, fire that POS, slow it, cut the cancer. Um, Look, the screen game is embarrassing. The overall approach at the line of scrimmage is embarrassing. I actually have a beef with the offense myself, and this is my problem, and this has been my problem for a long time. They're idiots when it comes to evaluating offense. Let's just be serious. They everything that they do and everything that they touch on defense turns to gold, but on offense, it is just as incompetent. As great as things are on defense, as great as player development is, as great as finding gems is, as great as getting returns on investments is, it is absolute ass on offense. And I think there were two things that we saw today that kind of put that incompetence on display. And in a perfect world, fans and media types don't want to be smarter than the people that are making the important decisions. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend to have any grasp of defense above how this organization does stuff. But when it comes to the offense, You look at what they've invested in the offensive line. That's the most polarizing topic. That's a disaster. You look at some of the cuts that they've made. They cut Cam Akers. They cut Noah Brown for no reason. For what? For Steven Sims? For what? What did they do that for? And today we saw it because we saw even more example of incompetence with the Texans' offensive decision making, because there were two things that happened that made me think, okay, why was this not even entertained, and why did Ish have to hit the fan for these things to be entertained? Number one, I thought Kendrick Green would look better than Shaq Mason has all year. I'm not going to sit here and act like Kendrick Green's awesome, but for some reason, Shaq Mason, like, while we're criticizing Kenyon Green and we're criticizing Titus Howard and we're criticizing the offensive line, for some reason, Shaq Mason's job has been safe the whole time. And I don't know if it's because Caserio knows him in New England or what, from New England or what, but for whatever reason, Shaq Mason's job has been saved. Kendrick Green hasn't been playable. They've done everything in their power to avoid playing Kendrick Green. They've done everything. He goes out there. I thought he looked better than Shaq Mason has. Then you look at this, and this is just kind of a small thing, but if you follow this squad, it doesn't make much sense for you either. Dalton Schultz moves like a 14-year-old golden retriever. I know he had the touchdown today. He also had a really big drop. And when it comes to blocking, there are a lot of limitations with Dalton Schultz. We can all see that. And there was some limitations as well with Cade Stover. Here's my question. Why was Andrew Beck cut? Like, I'm not sitting here acting like Andrew Beck is some sort of like awesome player, like some hybrid. I'm not saying he's Kyle Juszczyk. I'm not saying he's George Kittle, but why did it not seem like when it came to blocking and all the stuff that tight ends, fullbacks, H-backs are asked to do, that Andrew Beck looked better? Why did they cut him? And now they brought him back, and the only reason he's back is because Stover had to get his effing appendix out. The only reason that Kendrick Green's on the field is because Shaq Mason got hurt. Why exactly did they cut Andrew Beck? The offensive evaluation, the grasp of offensive football with this organization is so unproportional to the defense that it's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. And the Odell Beckham Jr. questions are coming in. I've been in favor of that before. I think it makes even more sense now. Space City Ballers on the Super. The game Tank balls out. He gets injured. LOL. This O-line is bad, bro. The refs won this game. Video leaked of Ball Boy telling ref to call timeout for KC. Yeah, we talked about it earlier on the channel. We actually did a video on it, on just the lack of production with Tank Dell and what exactly is going on and why that is the case. Why is Tank Dell struggling so bad, and what is wrong with Tank Dell? We've asked that question multiple times. We saw the Tank Dell this year that we saw last year. And unfortunately, we saw something else that we saw last year with Tank Dell. And it was just kind of, it was the highs and the lows. We saw Tank Dell balling out. We saw Tank Dell developing chemistry with CJ Stroud. We saw Tank Dell making big plays. Big plays needed to be made. And then right when you felt like Tank Dell was at his peak and this team was humming and this offense was playing better, we saw Tank Dell carted off the field. And I don't know what the future is for Tank Dell, but I can assure you a couple of things when it comes to Tank Dell. Number one, his season's over. We know that. Number two, his season next year is very much in doubt. And number three, I don't know what kind of football player he is if he's able to get on the field. But we're not seeing Tank Dell this year. I doubt we see Tank Dell next year, and he's going to go into the final year of his deal, and hopefully this team finds another young wide receiver to where he can come in and be a complimentary guy. But you saw what happened. The pictures are on the internet. That's not good. I'm not going to sit here and say a dude's career is in jeopardy, but I mean, I think it's at least questioned. Because between the injury last year, the injury this year, what we saw, it's really unfortunate. It sucks for him. Especially with him finding his groove, especially with how much this team relies on him, but we don't need like some sort of report to know that Tank Dell's season is over. And it would be a miracle if Tank Dell steps on the field next year, and we'll just see what happens. But yeah, that sucked. That was absolutely terrible to see with Tank. Stone Alone 5XS says the refs should be investigated at this point. Um, Prayers for Tank, Texans for life, win, lose, draw. I feel you on that. No, the refs were terrible. The refs. I'm not going to sit here and say they cost you the game, but any complaints about the refs are there. They changed the game. I mean, this was going to be a one possession game. The Texans aren't going to be a team to blow you out. They're not going to be a team, an offense that can score a lot of points. And the referees, and it's just so blatant. It's just so blatant and suspect. Like these were not calls where, I mean, just the calls on them by themselves would be suspect, but you're taking away a touchdown. You're calling a roughing the passer when he's not even passing the ball. The guy's just putting his arm down. He barely touches him. Pat Mahomes flops like a European soccer player. He acts like a chump out there sometimes. And then on third down, you're calling something on Derek Stingley that's insane. They weren't even begging for the call when Jimmy got his. So it was just a terrible, terrible, terrible display by the referees. So I feel you. If you want to talk about the refs, go ahead. Space City Ballers, I don't trust Metch and Hutch. Go get Odell/Johnson. Yeah, Deontay Johnson's out there as well. I mean, you got to be open to anything and everything when it comes to the wide receivers at this point. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Um, is it worth one mortal two? Appreciate you on the super. Is it worth looking for a wide receiver replacement at this point? Could you get OBJ or Deontay Johnson? I think so. I mean, you gotta figure it out at that position and see if you can revive something. Um, Hex 1999 says you nailed it today, bro. I appreciate you. I don't know what I nailed, but I appreciate the love. Tay says Johnson quit on a team and that's why he's available. Yeah, he refused to play. Yeah, he beyond quit on the team. There is no doubt about that. And Deontay Johnson, I mean, that's a polarizing guy right there. Um, if you want to go after Deontay Johnson, okay, but I mean that would have to be just a situation where he just completely revives himself and buys into whatever the Texans are selling, because that's a tough one when it comes to old Deontay Johnson. Space City says Garrett Wilson, please. You'd have to wait next year for that, but you got to wonder with that, especially with Tank gone. Luis, Mike McCarthy. Are you saying Mike McCarthy? Mike McCarthy is, do I see those screen passes to the wide receivers are sickening? Damn it, Bobby. We're on the road, so we don't have the damn it, Bobby drop, but I'll make up for it next time. Slowick time in H-Town is done. Go get Kingsbury. Kingsbury's got other things going on. He's enjoying himself. So we're not gonna be seeing Kingsbury anytime soon. He might get a head coaching gig, for all we know, sooner rather than later. So I don't see Kingsbury being an OC. They already had their chance they interviewed him and they said no thanks to Cliff Kingsbury. They went with Bobby Slowick, most popular, most popular guy in town, Bobby Slowick. So that's where they're at there. It's a big football day. We got the Longhorns playing right now. Got the SMU game done. Clemson up to a 7-0 lead. So this is going to be a short one because we're not in studio. And there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of people with family. Reaction Monday tomorrow with Cody Stutes. We'll still have that going. So tune in for that. Landry at Days Inn. What is this hotel called? This is a nice one. I'm at the Lumen. The Lumen on University Boulevard in Dallas. Ain't no Days Inn, brother. Very nice little spot. Days Inn. I don't think I've ever been to a Days Inn. Jacob says, if this franchise can't evaluate talent, what are the chances they hire a good OC? I mean, they're just going to have to invest more in it and figure out what the hell they want to do with it. I mean, that's really what the offense is going to have to do. They're going to have to invest more time in it and they're going to have to figure out what the heck they want to do, um, and how that happens. And that's going to have to be that might be one of the biggest pieces of maturation for D'Amico Ryans, and what he wants to do. Defense is fine. The defense can be really, really good. Uh, Avenue Central says anytime Jeff Obozo is playing, bad things happen. He's not good. We know that. He's the number 3 corner, but yeah, he's not good. Uh, Dolly Sanchez says she's going to go take a nap. Don't blame you. Go get a nap in. It's kind of one of those days. Lick the wounds. Get a nap. Now, I don't know if this is good news for the Texans, but this is just the reality of the situation. The most relevant outcome today is actually the Pittsburgh Baltimore game, because if Baltimore beats Pittsburgh and they're favored to do so, then the Texans can win their final 2 games and they can be the 3 seed. Now, the question becomes, with all these injuries that you suffered, and we'll get into how significant these injuries are, but with all the injuries you suffered, do you believe that you're going to be able to go all in against Baltimore, and that's going to be worth it? Because you lost very key pieces today, major injuries. And number one is obviously Tank Dell, especially if he was going to start performing like this. You need that secondary option. And number two is Jimmy Ward, who was doing a beyond admirable job of filling in at the nickel position. And now I don't even know if they're going to use that as much or not. They've been using a lot with Jalen Petrie, and uh, we'd seen it with Jimmy Ward. Didn't really miss a beat, but where do they go from there? What are they going to do? That's going to be something to keep an eye on there. And I don't really know what they do there. I don't know where they go from there when it comes to the nickel. Do we see more traditional defense? The good news is you saw Christian Harris today. Christian Harris appears to be finding the form that he had at the end of last season. And you have that. Um, but I just don't see them saying, okay, let's find a nickel guy now. So I think the defense that you've been playing that has been elite is in question, and we'll see what happens. I agree with Gio. I think we see 3 linebackers, and then Alshire will be back after the next game. But you gotta you gotta see what you can do on that. I guess we got some Chiefs fans in the building. Shout out to all the Chiefs fans. Hell of a football team uh, that y'all uh, that y'all got there. That was a a good performance by the Chiefs. I think Joe Schmo's questioning the Mahomes. I would never be able to sacrifice my dignity though. Um, and I don't even like whenever there's complaining about the refs, I kind of roll my eyes when it's the Texans. But I would never be able to, especially with thick ass beard and that flat bill, and you're obviously trying to look real hard in your picture. I would never sacrifice my dignity for clear just BS calls like that. I respect the game and I respect football too much. I'm not really, and I'm not really, it's media type. I'm not really fanboy like that. But look at that mean mug, and dude is just like defending the refs. They're bad calls, man. Sorry, you don't have to sacrifice that manhood, brother. I know you got a mean mug. It's all good, man. It's all good, dude. Joe Schmo's still going. It's all good, dude. You are on. You got the knee pads on for the Chiefs. It's all good. I don't blame you. Got a hell of a fan base. Much crunker environment than what we got here. I think that goes without saying. Uh, but hopefully for Christmas in your stocking, you get you a like a customized AC Joe on one knee pad and Schmo on the other, because you sacrificed your dignity for acting like that was that was anything other than terrible. That was awful. Sean Holmes on the chat. I'm gonna say it again. Y'all lame for coming at CJ for him losing his only offensive weapon today and his teammate. I don't know who's coming at CJ. I thought CJ actually, like, if we want to look at the performance when it comes to CJ, I thought he had an up and down performance. I thought the one drive, the response I thought that was actually his best series of the year. You had the dime to Nico for 30. Then you found Xavier Hutchinson, his one cameo per game. You moved the chains there. You moved the chains with Tank. And then you bought time and you found the 14-year-old golden retriever, aka Dalton Schultz, in the end zone and scored the touchdown. I thought that was CJ's best drive. And I thought CJ looked good today. It hasn't been a good season. Statistically, it hasn't been great. But as far as like extending plays, the touch on the passes and all, I thought it was one of CJ's better plays or better drives. And I thought there were some lows though with CJ too. He was slow getting the play in, whatever he was trying to do, change the play, anything like that. I don't know that they even audible. Um, and then he was really, really that INT at the end of the first half. Can't have that. Can't be jumping in the air and throwing it uh, down low with nothing to really gain and throwing the interception there. And then you had the early interception as well. So I thought CJ was doing well. I think it's kind of an uphill battle with him. Um, but I I thought he actually played pretty well. Didn't have too much of an issue with what went down with CJ. Patrick Mahomes is definitely still him, regardless of whether he's getting the friendly whistle or not. He's still him. I've never seen a quarterback with such a sense of the moment as Patrick Mahomes. Like whenever you can feel momentum shifting, he's going to respond. I know that this was something that was kind of frowned upon. I'm not speaking for everyone, but it did seem like when we were talking about the Hollywood Brown factor that people were kind of rolling their eyes at it. He's going to be a mofo for them down the stretch. That's a big get for the Chiefs. We're sitting here and we're talking about one of the most depth lacking wide receiving rooms in the league. And Tank Dell really hasn't produced at a high level this year. We finally see a little bit out of Tank Dell. He does his thing and then he gets hurt. We're talking about Deontay Johnson, Odell Beckham Jr. Like, just think about that. That's what we're talking about. And we were really talking about that before Tank even got hurt. They got Xavier Worthy. They added DeAndre Hopkins. They still got Travis Kelce. Pacheco came back and has given them a little bit of juice. Kareem Hunt's doing his thing. And now they got Hollywood Brown added to the mix. And you got a little bit of a snippet from it. Mahomes and him connected a couple of times. But Hollywood Brown, you can mark this. When it matters in the playoffs, whatever, we're going to see Hollywood Brown making plays. So I think that's a really, really big element. And I know if you ask people, who do you think is better, Buffalo, Kansas City? It seems like Buffalo is kind of the team that most people lean on. Assuming that the Chiefs win one of their next two, and why the hell wouldn't they? Now Buffalo's going to have to go there, and the Chiefs have a lot more explosion on offense. I don't think you can minimize the Hollywood Brown thing. That was impressive. Nico is already getting doubled. He's going to get doubled even more now without Tank. I don't think Tank slows you down from doing that, but it's going to be all the attention on Nico Collins at this point. And that's the right track. One mortal, two. Any luck finding Fuller? Maybe ask him to play. We have not tracked down Will Fuller yet. Not yet. We'll get on that. Bobby Slowick is a piece of crap. Fire him now. Yeah, I don't know about that. He's not getting fired. Actually, wasn't one of his worst games, which is kind of wild. But this game just really. This is about Kansas City knowing how to win, a friendly whistle, and Kansas City really just being a better squad. And I think that's really the bottom line. That's what it comes down to. We got to keep an eye on Jimmy Ward, see how long he's going to be out. Jimmy Ward, he can't stay healthy. Hadn't been able to stay healthy for a while. I don't know why they gave him the extension, but he can't stay healthy. Shaq Mason, I actually thought Kendrick Green looked better than Shaq Mason, be honest with you. But we'll see what happens with Shaq. I don't know what the deal was with Kendrick Green, but he seems to be better than Shaq. And I don't know what he does. Maybe he doesn't practice as well as they hope. Just don't get it at all. And then, of course, the other story, the Tank Dell, his future's in jeopardy. I don't think that's dramatic to say. Uh, we don't know if we're going to see Tank Dell at all. And damn sure not for probably the next 2 seasons. And beyond that, who knows? Tank Dell's now gone to like kind of a miracle case. Like it's not, this is going to be like, as soon as he practices, it's going to be like the big local news story. And it's hard to expect him to be the same player that he was. It's been twice that we've seen Tank Dell there. And you can tell that it really, really hit CJ Stroud. Um, Seemed like it was probably hard for him to keep it together. Um, but we'll see how that goes. Not great. Appreciate everyone for coming through. We're going to have SNL live tomorrow. This one's short. Longhorns are playing. College football playoff is upon us. And we'll figure this out. Joe Schmo on the super. Appreciate you. Hands to the face, roughing the passer clearly. That's pathetic, dude. That's pathetic. That's sad. Appreciate you for coming through. Shout out to the Chiefs, one of the best organizations. But man, that's sad, dude. That's sad. Because I mean, that's a rough one, man. That's rough. I mean, you're saying clearly? Nah, definitely not clearly. That's very, very suspect of you. But hey, fans fan in different ways. I'm media type, so I just don't even my squad. Like if the horns if the horns got a call like that, I would say they kind of got fortunate. Um, but hey, when you're as good as the Chiefs, when I'm sure they've provided you with as many memories, you're ride or die, man. And shout out to you, you're ride or die. Joe Schmo, if the Chiefs ever murdered someone and you witnessed it, you would go to jail. You wouldn't testify for him. So shout out to you. Yeah, roughing the passer on a fumble. I don't know. Poor Joe Schmo. All good. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. We're gonna recap the game on SNL. I got some stuff to do. I got a party to go to, and I got some business to take care of. Again, prayers up for Tank Dell. Pretty much more of the same with the Texans. Offensive limitations, friendly whistle, and champs know how to champ. Shout out to the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a good team, scary team, especially with the Hollywood element. And the Texans just unable to take advantage. They got a lot of questions on defense. How is it going to look without that nickel spot really looking like it's as favorable of putting to practice as before? And then on offense without Tank Dell and the questions that continue in Baltimore. What do you do? Do you rest guys? The importance of Joe Mixon goes way up without Tank Dell. So how are they going to handle that? We'll see how it goes. It's a tough loss, multiple losses. You didn't just lose the game; you lost a lot of key pieces, and we'll see how that goes. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Subscribe to the new SNL channel. Subscribe to the Locker Room, and most importantly, we're on the road, so it's a little bit shorter. We'll hear from D'Amico and CJ tomorrow on SNL. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Y'all be good. Happy football. Get to the TV right now. This is a good one. This is a good ass day, good ass weekend. Appreciate y'all for coming through.